Welcome to the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. Have a question for the show or need assistance with your retirement plan? Give Philip a call today. 863-285-3815. 863-285-3815.
Most people who are near retirement haven't met with a financial advisor, and that could be a costly mistake. So today, Philip Statler is here to tell you about some of the questions to ask to help you find the right financial professional. We're so glad you're here with us today. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. And Philip, I know we have a lot to get to today. I hope you are doing great today. How are you?
Hey, doing well today. It's that time of year. We're staying pretty busy right now, but hey, it doesn't mean that we don't have time for more. And I'm excited about what's happening here in Central Florida.
Yeah.
And I think I was reading somewhere online. I was reading a paper, and they actually said that Florida was the second best state to minimize your taxes in retirement.
Well, hey, I mean, any surprise there that Florida is one of the best states to retire, really? I mean,
we got beat out by Alaska, and I'm trying to figure out warm versus cold. And I know those guys, if you live there, they got that oil money, so that might be a little bit better there.
Yeah.
Of course, we're still favored probably for the most part by retirees that they want to retire to Florida, but I can't believe we came in number 2 in that poll too.
Yeah, behind Maine. I mean, there's just something about, I guess, those rocky shores and colder weather for some people. But no surprise that overall, though, I think this was actually like a smartasset.com article. Florida was overall, though. It may have come in second in some of those categories, but because it placed so high in both of them, overall, one of the best places to retire. So, hey, no surprise there, right?
I mean, we're seeing people come to Highlands County from all directions. I mean, literally, people will retire down in Miami. They're tired of that rat race. They're coming up. You got people up north, tired of the cold. They're coming down. So we've got them coming from all directions now.
So let's talk about how we help those folks get ready, because a recent survey of Americans age 55 and up, this survey is pretty revealing about our preparation for retirement as a nation. Only 27% of respondents say they're confident their savings will last. 60% do not feel like they have enough money saved. And 67% have not met with an advisor to create a retirement strategy. Sounds like something, Philip, that you can help us fix.
I'm looking at those numbers, Jen, and I got to say, I'm really kind of shocked at that last number. Only 67% have not met with an advisor.
Yeah.
That means less than 35% of the folks have met with advisors to try to get ready for retirement. And that's just scary to me that folks would take on this venture, this activity without having a plan in place. It just really just blows my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk a little bit about how the benefits here, how working with a financial professional can help you feel a little bit more confident about your retirement. Because I guess if you talked with someone and they can help you understand the numbers, you might not be as worried about how much you've saved, or you at least have a plan for how you'll catch back up.
Well, that's right. And so a lot of times, folks don't think they have enough money saved, and in reality, if you look at it, they're okay. Now, I'll give you that. The fact that sometimes the opposite is true, Jen. Sometimes people have not saved enough.
Right.
And they should not retire because they don't have enough saved up. But you don't know that until you go through the process.
Sure.
And I would encourage folks, look, if you are, 5 to 10 years out from retirement, man, you really need to start that process to see where you are and make sure that you're heading the right direction and get a plan in place. What do I need? If I don't know exactly what I need, how much do I need to have saved, and what do I need to do to be able to retire when I want to retire and enjoy retirement, not having to sweat the bills, every month and making sure that you just got money saved and can do what you want in retirement.
Walk us through your process, Philip, for helping somebody create that retirement income strategy.
Absolutely, Jen. I developed something called the core retirement design, And the premise of that really is to start out by, because I've seen it so often, is folks don't have the right amount of risk in their portfolio. And this core retirement design really helps you calculate the number one, the amount of risk you should have, and number two, figure out how much risk you do have and what needs to change so that those two things really line up. And then help you really kind of organize those goals and objectives and put things in perspective. Make sure that we've got a tax efficient plan in place. And then lastly, make sure we have an income plan. That in itself, Jen, will give people so much certainty in retirement because they'll know where the money's coming from each and every month for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, which is such an important thing to have a handle on. And Philip, for people who maybe they haven't been working with somebody yet, maybe they're not even quite sure how to go about finding somebody to help them with their retirement, I have a list of some of the questions that you might consider asking. So I want to take a little time and go through some of these with you and get your take on some of these questions and if they make sense or not. But the first one is, what does your financial plan include, and can you describe your financial planning process? How would you answer a couple of those questions?
So that really boils down to our core retirement design, right? Where we do look at the tax aspects of retirement and making sure that we've got a tax effective plan in place, knowing that right now that we are in some of the lowest tax brackets we're ever going to see. To look at that over your lifetime, how can we save taxes, not today, but for the rest of your lives? And, we don't give legal advice, but we sure know a lot about it. And we know where to point you to make sure you get those things taken care of and you've got everything ready to go in case something happens and you should need those documents.
What about this question? How do you help your clients, Philip? What are some of the areas where you feel like you're able to help your clients?
So a couple of things. I think one is making sure that we have that income plan in place so that we know where our income's going to come from. And then two is the tax aspect. Making sure that the amount of taxes we pay are as small as possible, not today, but for your lifetime. And the other thing I would say is that, we do more than just financial, right? We're here as our clients 411, meaning, hey, look, I got a question. It's not financial, but hey, I need some help finding an answer. Or a 911. Hey, I've got this emergency. It may not have to do with my finances, but we're here to help them through those processes.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. And let me just give the phone number really quickly, 863-285-3815, as we are talking through some of these questions to ask a potential financial advisor. If you want to talk to Philip a little bit more about some of this, if you want to pose some of these questions to him and start that conversation, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815 to get on Philip's calendar and get a little bit of his time to get some of your initial questions answered. That's 863-285-3815. Another question that you might consider asking a financial advisor or financial professional, Philip, what tools will you use to help me determine my goals clearly? What are some of the financial tools or things that you might use when you're helping people put together their strategy?
Well, we have a couple of things. One is, and one of the biggest things is really trying to determine, what risk somebody should have in their portfolio, how much risk. And so we've got some tools that help us analyze, one, how much risk they should have in their portfolio and kind of compare that to the amount of risk they do have in their current portfolio. And then we have several other tools that help us really look at being tax efficient. Does it make sense to do Roth conversions or charitable giving? We look at all those things when it comes to tax planning and putting that into perspective as we're heading into retirement. What things can we look at and how can we get ourselves in that lowest to zero tax bracket as close as we can anyway?
Philip, what about this question? I'm guessing a lot of people would have a question like this. What will you need from me throughout the process, and what is your responsiveness? I think sometimes people wonder, okay, but what do I have to do? What do I need to provide? How involved do I need to be?
So I tell folks, look, we need a lot of stuff to get it done, right? We copy of tax returns. We need a copy of statements. We need a balance sheet. But more important than all that stuff is we are not sitting here running everything. We try to use a collaborative approach so that, hey, we are partners in this planning process, that we want to make sure that we're transparent with you, you're transparent with us, that we know everything we need to know so that we put together the right plan for you so that you can have that retirement you always dreamed of. And I would say that's probably the biggest thing is we want to be collaborative with our clients and really have that give and take to determine what's going to meet their needs the best.
And finally, Philip, what about questions like how often will we meet to review and update the plan and some of those types of things? Because this isn't a one-time ordeal, Philip, where you help somebody put together their plan, you send them off into retirement and say, hey, see you in 30 years. That's not really how this works.
It's not a one and done, right? It's not like the people that sell you a product like an annuity or a CD, hey, look, it's done, you're over, we don't have to meet again. It's not that at all. We're there. Most of our clients, we meet at least once a year, a lot of times twice a year. And then the other part of that is that we're available, right? If hey, look, we're only scheduled to meet once or twice a year, but you need something, we're here. We're here for that phone consultation to make sure that we answer your questions and to make sure that you're comfortable with what's happening, where you are, and what the next steps are. That's exactly, these questions you've asked today really kind of lead us into that core retirement design process. So many times folks just don't have a plan. And that's the biggest problem I see when I sit down with folks is above anything else, they just don't have a plan in place. And that's, again, why we put together this core retirement design. Look, if you're already retired, and I mean like you retired yesterday or you retired 7 or 8 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, that's a sweet spot. You need to make sure you have a plan in place. Or you're the other end of the spectrum. You're 5 to 10 years out from retirement. Now's the time to be getting all your ducks in a row and make sure you're ready for that day to retire. Give us a call and let's walk through our core retirement design analysis. That's 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Folks, don't delay. Don't procrastinate. It's your retirement we're talking about here. That number again, 863-285-3815.
This is the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. More insights from Philip when we return.
In times of volatility, the only wrong move is not making one. Call Philip and the team at Statler Financial Services today and find out where you currently stand with your portfolio. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Remember that first paycheck when you started working all those years ago and you looked at the net amount and thought, whoa, what happened here? Well, it could be this way with your retirement accounts. You know how much you've saved, but if you haven't planned for Uncle Sam, you could come up short in retirement. With tax laws constantly changing, there's a lot you need to know to make sure you're not paying more than your fair share. Philip Statler and the Statler Financial Team have helped hundreds of families plan for retirement for more than 20 years. They'll help you create a plan that shows you how taxes could affect you now and in the future. Set up a visit with Philip Statler and the team at Statler Financial. Just give them a call at 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Make sure you know how these changes could affect you so you can avoid some of those whoa moments in retirement. Call 863-285-3815. Firm offers insurance services but may not give tax advice. Advisory services are offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida.
I want to help you understand some things. Number one, timing of your RMD, because they could potentially push you into a higher tax bracket. Imagine how fast your savings could shrink if you rack up penalties along with taking regular withdrawals and paying taxes.
Time to retire right. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show.
Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. Jen Rezac here alongside Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services, and he knows as well as I do that for years, annuities have gotten a bum rap, right? They're too expensive, too many strings attached. Your money's locked up forever. We've heard all the cons of annuities for years, but with private company pensions dying out, the tide is starting to turn with younger baby boomers and even Gen Xers now showing more interest in annuities as part of a retirement strategy. I mean, did you ever think we'd say that, Philip? Gen X wants to know about annuities.
I wouldn't. But I find that interesting because I did have a younger client come in that she inherited some money. Yeah, she said, look, I want to make sure we put some of this into an annuity.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I just
So you're
really
seeing
was,
it.
Yeah.
You're seeing it. Well, and I've got some numbers here too. So the Alliance for Lifetime Income conducted a survey, and what they found, 9 out of 10 investors said protection is important for their retirement income. So not a big surprise. That seems like a big deal for everybody. But 71% of younger investors were interested in annuities as part of their overall retirement income plan. And you're saying you're seeing this as well. So when you talk to this client, what was some of the rationale or what do you think is behind this increased interest in annuities, especially among some of the younger people getting ready for retirement?
Well, I think the study kind of showed, and we talked about, you mentioned it at the opening, is that private company pensions are dying out, right? Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things that we've talked about a lot on the show, is that the three-legged stool is going to a two-legged stool. And I think what this shows is that the Gen Xers are even seeing that and realizing, hey, I've got to look out for me. I've got to create my own income stream when I get ready to retire. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. And I think that what's really probably pushed it a little bit more now is even with the pandemic. Mm-hmm. I think that, and the study said that the pandemic had a lot to do with it. I think people had time to think, right? Things were different. Yeah. Things were chaotic. And so I think that it caused people to kind of a mental reset for where they are, what they focus on, what benefits are actually being offered by their employer. I think that really took control and has really opened folks' eyes to some of the benefits that annuities have. I mean, we hear in the news all the negative and the cons, but it's those benefits of being able to provide lifetime income that really is starting to be attraction.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about the benefits, protected income, that is certainly a benefit. Talk about the difference between that protected income, something like a pension or an annuity, and then that quote unquote maybe money, that non-guaranteed income when it comes to what you're counting on in retirement.
So let's look at it this way. So if you have a pension, right, that money's coming in. Some people call it mailbox money. Hey, it's going to hit your bank account every month, mm-hmm. right on time. Well, annuities, a lot of them have that same benefit, right? You have some kind of income provision within that annuity. You can turn it on to provide lifetime income, which is then protected income. That's going to be there month in and month out as long as you're around. Versus what they call maybe money, right? That's money that's in the stock market. Mm-hmm. That's money that we don't know. It's going to be up and down. Probably one of the biggest things I ever saw that really opened my eyes was back in 2009. I was meeting with a potential client who on January 1st of 2008, his IRA had $1.5 million in it. Mm-hmm. And when I met with him, his account was down more than 50%.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
He was taking, when he started, 5% out of that account. Mm-hmm. He never made any adjustments. So by the time I saw him, he was literally taking 10% out of the account.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And so the maybe money makes you have to realize that you need to be able to make adjustments, right? If that's going to be your money and the stock market's down 50%, you need to take 50% less money out of there, if not more.
Wow.
Less than that, right? So that's the difference. Protected income, hey, it's there, it's going to be there, no matter what. Maybe money, it may or may not be there. You may have to make adjustments with that money. That's the biggest difference.
So some clear challenges there for people who are potentially relying on that maybe money instead of something protected, like an annuity or pension or something like that.
Absolutely. If you have maybe money and that's what you're relying on as your monthly stream of income, and there's a lot of folks out there that's what they have. That's, either one, they don't believe in annuities, or two, they're not working with a financial advisor who knows how to do distribution planning properly for safety versus risk. And they don't have that. So they're taking money out of their risk bucket, their maybe money bucket. And the problem is if they don't make adjustments when the market declines, then they may run out of money faster than what they had planned on. Folks, listen, that's why I believe it's so important that you have a written retirement income plan. If you don't have a written retirement income plan, then you're just taking money kind of out of your junk drawer. You're taking out this product or that product or this account or that account without a plan in place. It's the retirement income plan, a written plan, that gives you certainty around your money and that income distribution coming out. Give us a call at 863-285-3815. Sit down with us and let us help you put together that written retirement income plan. That number again is 863-285-3815.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. I am Jen Rezac alongside. And when you talk about having that retirement income plan, does simply owning an annuity, does that count? Is that what you mean when you talk about having an income plan? Because that sounds like the plan for where your income's coming from.
And it may be where some of your income's coming from, but that's not the plan.
Okay.
That would be like, open up a junk drawer and say, I need tape, so I'm going to take this roll of tape. Well, no, you need to have a plan, a written retirement plan, so that you know where your money's going to come from and where it's going to come from. So that's really, we use at Statler Financial, we use a bucket approach. So we've got buckets of money. We know when you're going to start bucket one, how long that's going to last, when we're going to go to bucket two, how long that's going to last, how long the third bucket's going to last the rest of your lifetime. So we've got different buckets of money. That's a plan. And knowing exactly when you're going to turn that bucket on and when you're going to have to switch to the next bucket, that's a plan. That's not just picking money out of one place or another. And that's important that people have that written down, that written retirement plan down.
How do we find the right balance between protection, having that protected income, but then also still getting a little bit of growth in some areas of our money? Because it seems like when you look at how long people are living and things like inflation, costs keep going up, growth still seems important. How do you find the right balance?
That's a good question, Jen. So everybody's different. But we start out that process here, we use the rule of 100. Now, that may or may not be where we end up, but it's definitely where we're going to start. So we're going to say, hey, we're going to take your age. If you're 65 years old, subtract that from 100, 35 is what's left. So 35% is about what we would want invested in the risk bucket of money. And so that means we got 65% plus or minus 10% protected and safe. And that just is kind of a rule of thumb. It's not in stone. We make changes all the time. But we take that along with walking through a smart risk tolerance process to determine how much risk you can really handle on the ups and downs of the marketplace is kind of how we determine what that balance needs to look like.
If we are thinking about an annuity or putting our money in any type of retirement planning vehicle, no matter what we're thinking of investing in or rolling it into or putting it, how do we get a second opinion?
Yeah, they can give us a call. We'd be happy to sit down with them and say, look, that's a good vehicle. There's some better vehicles out there. Here's what I see being really in this industry is that there's some sweet spots right now when it comes to annuities. Everybody, it used to be, the 10-year annuity had the best rates, the best deals. I'm not really finding that now, Jen. The 7-year annuities actually right now have a better opportunities for earnings. And so I tell people, look, I'd be happy to sit down with you, look at what you're looking at, and give you the pros and cons of that, and let you know if that really is a good place to park some money for income. Again, that's easy. I'd love to do it, give you a second opinion on that. All you have to do is give us a call at 863-285-3815 to get started with that. But that annuity part, Jen, is only part of the whole plan. Mm-hmm. I sit down with people all the time that they have too much risk in their portfolio. I mean, that's not uncommon. But the other thing that I see, not as often, but I see people who don't have enough risk in their portfolio. They've got everything in CDs or annuities. And that's just as bad as having too much risk. So it's a balancing act. We need to have both things within our portfolio to make sure that what we have is going to last throughout your lifetime. Now, the other part of that is the risk bucket can't just be set it and forget it, right? It's got to be something that's monitored, controlled, rebalanced on a regular basis, and monitored to the nth degree. That's what makes the risk bucket work the way it needs to work. And so that's why we developed our whole core retirement design process, is to build that core for folks, to balance between risk and safety. That's the whole emphasis that's on that process. And give us a call. Look, if you've got $150,000 or more that you've saved for retirement, give us a call at 863-285-3815. Again, that number is 863-285-3815.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is with Statler Financial Services. An annuity may or may not be right for you, but one thing is certain. Today's annuities are a world away from the ones your grandparents have. We'll get into that on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
Turn your plans of yesterday into yes today. Don't wait another day for a routine checkup of your retirement plans. Call Statler Financial Services, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
You can't see it, but you sure can feel it. The economy is struggling right now. Do you know how it might affect your retirement? Some retirement plans take into account economic downturns, stock market dips, interest rate fluctuations. Does yours? Take charge of your retirement by calling Philip Statler at 863-285-3815. Philip and his team at Statler Financial have been helping families prepare for retirement for over 20 years. They will help address the current economic situation and help you create a retirement plan designed to give you the confidence to move forward. Opportunities can exist regardless of economic conditions. Call the team, Philip Statler with Statler Financial at 863-285-3815 and find out ways you can prepare now for your retirement. Call 863-285-3815. Call them now. Schedule a visit. Let's get started. Firm offers insurance services. Advisory services are offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
I want to help you understand some things. Number one, timing of your RMD, because they could potentially push you into a higher tax bracket. Imagine how fast your savings could shrink if you rack up penalties along with taking regular withdrawals and paying taxes.
Welcome back to the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler and co-host Jen Rezac.
Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here with Philip Statler. He is the inaugural Highlander Award winner for Financial Representative of the Year. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services in Sebring. An annuity may or may not be right for you, but one thing is certain. What we have today, these annuities are a world away from the ones your grandparents have. I mean, Philip, talk about that. How much has changed with the income tools we have today for the modern retiree?
Yeah, there's a lot of different. I mean, even, Jen, I think back the 23, 20, well, somewhere in that ballpark, not quite 20 years that I've been using annuities. It's amazing how much they've changed even in that time period. So, who knows what we got to look for the next 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the most confusing aspects of annuities is that there are so many different types. And that's something that has really come a long way as well. Could you just go over the different kinds of annuities that are available today? Because I just think there's some confusion there.
Absolutely. So when we look at annuities, there's four main types that are out there, and each kind determines a different monthly payout. So the key thing to remember is that annuities create a stream of income at some point in your life. Now, the first one is an immediate annuity. An immediate annuity, you dump a bunch of money into an insurance company's pocket. And that company will spit out monthly income or annual income or quarterly income, whatever you've agreed to, for a couple of things. Either you can set up on a term, like they're going to do it for 10 years, or you can set it up for your lifetime. Either way, you're trading a bunch of money that you give the insurance company for a income stream at some point in time. It's kind of creating your pension, right? You dump it in and you're going to get a stream of income, and you can do joint and survivor life if you want to. So it would tie up two people's lives before it runs out. And then there's a deferred annuity. So with a deferred annuity, you put money in either all at once, or you can put some in along the way over time. But at some point in the future, a stream of income begins, right? The deferred annuity is just that. It's going to be an income stream at some point down the road. The difference is that you pick a time later in life. And so some of the TSAs, the tax savings annuities that teachers have, especially some of the older ones, are deferred annuities. That the only way they really get their money out of there is a stream of income. Then you go to fixed annuities, and there's a fixed interest rate, right, that's associated with that contract. And so when the index is up, your index is up. So there's two types of fixed annuities. Let's look at that, right? There's the old-fashioned fixed annuity. Hey, I'm going to make 5% or I'm going to make 2%, whatever it is, for 5 years or 10 years or whatever. Then there's an index annuity where your rate of return is determined by an index. So if that index is up, like the S&P 500, if it's up, you make so much money. Not all of what the S&P, so let's say you make 30% of what the S&P 500 does. So if up 10, you're going to make what? 3.3. And it resets usually every year. There's multiple indexes available in today's index annuity world, and you can usually reallocate between those indexes on an annual basis if you feel the need. Then the last one is the variable annuity. And the variable annuity are for investors willing to take more risk, because there's no real guarantees in terms of principal unless you buy some type of rider that provides that for you. So the way the contract is valued is it's a variable investment, right? It's mutual funds within inside that annuity wrapper. So it's just like being in the stock market. The account value will fluctuate based on how well the stock markets are doing and how well the investments are doing. This type of annuity can offer higher returns, but with the possibility of your account actually falling in value and being worth less than what you put in.
So a lot to know there with so many different varieties of annuities, so many different flavors. How do you know which one would make the most sense if one is right for you?
Well, that's a little difficult to say, right? Because it all depends on everybody's circumstances. It depends on what's important to them. What are they seeking? Are they seeking more risk? Are they seeking less risk? What are their drivers? And that's really the bottom line, Jen, is we've got to come up with what's important to them. What are they trying to accomplish? Because that determines how you allocate between annuity or the stock market. The whole thing is really and truly an individualized process. There's no basics, hey, we can throw this out as in general, everybody can do this. That's not the way it works. The whole income planning process is very individualized. And that's what we strive for our clients to do, is to put each individual client has a different plan. There's no cookie cutter situation that we can just stamp out and say, oh, this will work for you, and this will work for you, and this will work for you. Every one of them, we start from scratch and build it based on the specific needs of that client. So that all goes to the process of you need to have a written retirement income plan. You need to understand what you have in risk. You need our core retirement design to make sure you're on the right path. To schedule your time, just give us a call at 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. And I know fees are a big concern for a lot of consumers as well. What do we need to know there, Philip, about the fees that could potentially be there with an annuity?
So fees will also depend on the type of plan you choose. Index annuity fees can range from 1% to 2%. Variable annuity fees, the article I read said up to 4%, but I've seen a variable annuity that had over a 5% in fees, because they had so many different riders that were attached to it. Additional death benefits or income benefits can also add to that cost. So companies may take a share of the gains and reduce your return on a sliding scale for some protections on the downside. There are also no fee annuities that only take a share of the gains. So there's different ones out there. I look at it as, what is the issue I'm trying to solve for? And then go and find the best solution for that situation. You don't want to be tied down to any one annuity company. You want somebody that's going to give you options and all the different things that are out there, Jen, because there's no one company that writes all the best annuities, Jen.
If we already have one, are we locked in? Are we stuck with this for good? Or can we potentially make changes if we're interested in shopping around a little bit?
It depends. Okay. You're not locked in forever. Usually, I will say that, because you could be, right. If you have a immediate annuity, well, you're stuck. That's whatever you did. It's done contractually. If you have a deferred annuity that's going to pay income out later, you're stuck. The only way to get the max benefits out of it is to take an income stream. I guess you can cash them in early sometimes, but you take a huge penalty. It's not worth it.
Okay.
It really does depend on the annuity itself. But in general, most of the time an annuity is going to have a 5 to 10 year time period on it, that the contract is locked in and has some penalties attached if you leave early. And after that time, typically you can make changes and find a better annuity, a better mousetrap, that may be out there. So, but each contract's different. You have to really look through the language to make sure you're making the right decision.
Walk us through your process for doing an analysis on an annuity for us.
So we look at One is how long is the annuity, and when do you need to start taking money out of it? That's number one. Number two, do we have a lot of choices with the type of indexes that are available to us? Or are we locked into the famous three? The S&P 500, the NASDAQ, or the Dow Jones 30. We want more variety is what we look for, because those varieties can provide us with some better returns than just those old standard three. And then from there, we're going to look at something that gives us the best opportunity. And we have different tools that we use that will back test different annuities, that will say, hey, look, based on, the last 20 years, this is what this annuity would have done had you used certain indexes. Not that that's locked in stone, but at least it gives us a guide for going forward. And the bottom line is that you need to walk through a process. It's not buying a car, right? We need to understand that having that annuity is only part of the process, and nobody should have everything invested in just annuities. It doesn't make financial sense. It just doesn't make sense at all. But I see it. I see it on a regular basis. It's walking through that process. It's having that core retirement design so that you understand where your income is going to come from, what the risk is that you have. All these things are important as we try to determine what you need and how you need it to work for you. Listen, folks, if you have at least $150,000 saved for retirement, let us walk you through our core retirement design to make sure that you're on track and that you're covering all the bases as you get ready to retire, or if you've already retired. Give us a call at 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. We'll be back.
Do you have a retirement plan but would like a second opinion? Call Philip Statler today, 863-285-3815. Statler Financial Services, 863-285-3815. Remember that first paycheck when you started working all those years ago and you looked at the net amount and thought, whoa, what happened here? Well, it could be this way with your retirement accounts. You know how much you've saved, but if you haven't planned for Uncle Sam, you could come up short in retirement. With tax laws constantly changing, there's a lot you need to know to make sure you're not paying more than your fair share. Philip Statler and the Statler Financial Team have helped hundreds of families plan for retirement for more than 20 years. They'll help you create a plan that shows you how taxes could affect you now and in the future. Set up a visit with Philip Statler and the team at Statler Financial. Just give them a call at 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Make sure you know how these changes could affect you so you can avoid some of those whoa moments in retirement. Call 863-285-3815. Firm offers insurance services but may not give tax advice. Advisory services are offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida.
Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here alongside Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. Philip is the inaugural Highlander Award winner for Financial Representative of the Year. He gets questions from people all the time about all things retirement. So, Philip, we have a collection of people. We went out, got some common retirement questions. We figure if these folks have questions about these things, you listening probably do too. So what do you say, Philip? Should we get into our Man on the Street segment and hear the questions that the people out there have?
Absolutely. We'll see what kind of questions they have today.
Yeah, we have a good collection of them today. Our first question, we ran into Al, and here's his question.
Hey, so my buddy down the street keeps bringing up this investment over and over and over again. He's excited about it. He swears by it. I'm interested, but I'm also concerned because I really don't know a whole lot about it. So what would be the best way to research something like that? Because I've always heard that you should always understand what you're investing in.
Absolutely, Al. Definitely. You do want to understand what you're investing in. And one way to do that is to do some research, right? So Google sometimes can be a bad thing, but Google the company, see what kind of articles there are out there to read about. Other than that, you need to go to the company's website. They usually will have an investment relations section on there. See if you can't get their income, their financial statements. I would say read the prospectus, but you'd go to sleep if you read the prospectus. But I would say look at what analysts have to say. Look at some different analysts that might be following that company to make sure what they say. Are they buying it? Are they selling it? Are they holding it? These are all some ways that you can at least get some idea about the company. But remember this, Al, just because your friend or your brother-in-law or some family member is making an investment, their financial situation could be totally different than yours. And so you need to look at it from your perspective, not from their perspective, and make sure that they're not trying to sell you something that they're going to benefit from. That's the other thing I'd warn you about.
All right. Good question, though. Certainly something to keep in mind, I think, as well, Philip, that there might be something that's worked really well for our brother-in-law or our neighbor or our coworker. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's right for us. So just another thing.
That's right, Jen. And it could be they bought it 6-8 months ago, and now it's not the time to buy it.
Yeah,
right?
they got it at the right
high.
time. Right.
Why go buy it now?
Right, exactly.
So, yeah.
A lot of things to think about there. Next question is from Pete, and I'll let Pete ask the question. Here we go.
I'm a freelancer, and I've always had enough income, but I don't have a company 401k that I can contribute to. So what are some options for me when it comes to saving for retirement? I'm 47, so I do have some time, but I don't want to put it off any longer.
I'm glad you don't want to put off any longer. That's a good sign. So, you are self-employed. You have a Schedule C. You have your own business as a freelancer. And so there are a lot of different options out there for you to create your own retirement plan. You can do a solo 401k. You can do a simple plan. You can do a SEP. So which one of those is going to work best for you? I don't know without sitting down with you to really look at your tax returns and look at your net worth to really kind of make that determination. I'd love to do that and help you with that process if you'd like. But there's a lot of retirement options out there. I would think between a financial advisor and a tax person, you could figure out which one would be best for your circumstances.
All right. Great question. And let's just go through that real quick. As you talk about that process for helping people determine the right options, Philip, can you just tell us about that real quickly before we move on to our next question?
Absolutely. When we're sitting down with folks, there's a lot of things that have to go into making financial decisions. And so we look at, how much do you have in your IRAs or your retirement accounts? How much do you have that's not in your IRAs and retirement accounts that you have access to now? How much are you going to need to live off of in retirement? And then what's your current tax situation? Because we want to make tax sensitive recommendations when we sit down with folks to do these things. And so really and truly, for me, I believe people have to know where they are right now in order to know if they need to make any changes. And so many folks I sit down with don't really know where they are right now. They don't know how much risk is in their portfolio. They don't know how much they're paying in fees and expenses. And so you can't move forward unless you know where you are moving from. And so that's really the first part of our process, Jen, is determining that. And then from there, we decide what road we need to go down. Is, tax planning more important? Do we need to do retirement planning? Or is it time now to start doing retirement income planning and get ready for that final quarter of the game that we're going to retire?
All right, let's do one more. Last person we ran into for our segment here today is Jan, and let's take a listen to Jan's question.
Our youngest will be finishing high school next year, and it's really hitting me because I'm not sure we've saved enough for the future. We've just been so busy with life that we haven't thought much about retirement. What should we do first?
Jan, I've been there. And I will tell you that you might have 4 more years before you can really focus on retirement. Getting through college, maybe. If you could do it now, that would be great. But so once that event happens and you're to the point, then you need to focus on retirement. And that starts by getting the most out of your current employer retirement plan. So if you have a 401k at work, making sure that you're doing all you can to get the most out of that, the biggest match you can get. Make sure you're putting enough away. Sitting down and putting together a financial plan would definitely help give you a roadmap to save for retirement, to know how much you need in retirement. What's that number for you? And I think that would calm a lot of your fears and erase a lot of that uncertainty that's out there, is if you had a plan in place that would get you from where you are now at your age to where you want to be when you get ready to retire, and give you that roadmap to go on. It is going to be huge. And I think that's for you is probably where it starts, is, sitting down with somebody and developing a true financial plan to see what it's going to take to get you to the retirement you've always dreamed of.
So a great collection of questions here today, very diverse set of questions. And I do think it's important when we look at a question like Jan's, this is a lot of people. We're just busy with life. We haven't, so many times we're so busy thinking about what we're dealing with right now and tomorrow and next week. It can be hard to think about retirement down the road. So Philip, I guess, what's your final message for our listeners here today, and for people who do have questions? They do want to make sure that they're on the right track. What should those folks be thinking about?
I think that no matter where you are in life, we need to think about the end game. I mean, that's the whole deal, is we need to think about the end game. And the end game is at some point we're going to retire. So what do we need to do to prepare for that? And there's going to be bumps along the way. We're going to have kids. We're going to have to put them through school. We're going to have to get them through college. And then we may have job changes. We might have other health issues. There's a lot of things that could be bumps in the road. But by having some kind of plan in place that you sit down and look at least once a year, even if you're younger, having that financial plan, that roadmap to your financial freedom, I call it, in retirement, is huge. And that's a good starting place to kind of know where you need to be and when you need to be there. It allows you to tweak things along the way as we continue to make improvements towards our retirement. It allows you to get back on track if you get off the track, because now you know what that track looks like. Folks, listen, if you're not sure about your retirement, if you're not sure where you are today in terms of risk in your portfolio, expenses you're paying, will it be enough? All the questions that I know go through your head as you start to think about retirement. Give us a call at 863-285-3815. That number is 863-285-3815. Don't procrastinate. Don't put it off any longer. Pick up the phone. Give us a call. 863-285-3815.
You've been listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show. That's all the time we have for this week, but be sure to tune in again next week for more insights from Philip. Thanks for joining us here today. We hope you have a great week.
In times of volatility, the only wrong move is not making one. Call Philip and the team at Statler Financial Services today and find out where you currently stand with your portfolio. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Information provided during the Statler Financial Radio Show is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. All investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. No strategy is guaranteed to be successful.
This radio show is a paid placement.